Even when you're just using a single data file, you want a quick and easy way to refresh and update your workbook when a new data file becomes available. But what do you do when that file name changes due to something like a timestamp or sequence number? In this video, I show you a solution that lets you refresh without renaming files or changing Excel settings. This solution is particularly great when you want to delegate tasks that rely on updatable data, but you're working with Excel users who don't really need to be trained on Power Query, just on what you want them to do with the data. Before I begin, let me quickly disclaim that this video is for general information purposes only and is not professional advice. Let's start with a bird's eye view of the two-phase process behind the solution. Phase 1 is setup, which you perform one time only. Here, you create a data folder in your file system and set up your workbook to pull its data from this folder. Because the folder name doesn't change, you never have to update where Excel is looking for the data, meaning that the data folder acts as a bypass for changing file names. Phase 2 is where you or your delegate use the setup on an ongoing basis. First, every time there's an update to the data that you want to work with, manually copy the new file into the data folder. So that you're not loading up old and new data, be sure to delete the old file that you're replacing. Then, with the new data in place, simply open Excel, navigate to the Data tab of the ribbon, and select Refresh. So, what do you need to do to implement Phase 1? For the folder, the most important thing is that the new data folder is different from the folder where you store the workbook that uses the data. To keep your files consolidated, I recommend creating a subfolder inside your main workbooks folder. You can name your subfolder whatever you want, but shorter is better. If you're delegating this work, make sure that the folders you're using are in something like a shared drive, or that you're otherwise managing access for both you and your delegate. For setting up the workbook, you'll use Excel's Get Data feature, which is a part of Power Query. Here's what that looks like on Windows. In Excel, from the Data tab of the ribbon, select Get Data, then from File, then from Folder. From the new pop-up window, navigate to and select your data folder, and then select Open. On this next window, you should see a list of the files in your folder. In our case, there's just one. From the button options at the bottom of this window, select the arrow next to Combine, and then select Combine and Transform Data. This will take you to a window that shows a sample of how Excel thinks it should load your data. Assuming that looks correct, select OK. You should now see the Power Query Editor window, which shows you what your data will look like if you were to simply load it right now. Since this folder feature is intended for multiple files, you can see Excel has added on an extra column, Source Name, that tells you which file name the data has come from. While you could keep this column as an error check of whether the data has been properly refreshed, I tend to view this more as something that bloats the worksheet when I'm just using a single data file. So, to remove the column, right-click on the column name and, from the right-click context menu, select Remove. Finally, select Close and Load from the upper left corner of the Power Query Editor window. Excel will load your data into a new worksheet named after the folder name you chose earlier. Note that it's also automatically formatted your data as an Excel table. And with that, your setup is complete. To demonstrate how users can refresh this data from changing file names, I'll follow Phase 2 of the bird's eye process I defined earlier. To make it easy to follow, I've split my screen so that you can see my File Explorer windows on the left and my Excel window on the right. Using File Explorer, copy the new data file that you want to get data from and paste it into the data folder that was created for this workbook. Then, delete the old data file that you're replacing. Back in Excel, under the Data tab of the ribbon, select Refresh All. Or, if you have other data connections in this workbook that you do not want refreshed, select any cell of your data table and then use the down arrow next to Refresh All to select Refresh. If this video helped you, drop a comment below and let me know. If you've still got questions or want help with a data project or strategy, whether that's for ideation, implementation, or training, reach out to me, Barbara Olsavsky, the owner and data strategist at Blue Designs LLC, on LinkedIn or at bluedesigns.com. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone else who needs it. Thank you for watching.